Hey, yo, I'm here today to talk about the right way and the wrong way to dress for a hot weather hike at Grand Canyon or some other desert climate. I should be hiking today actually, rim to rim to rim, but the National Park Service has deigned to close North Kaibab Trail until June 2nd, so I have a little bit of time on my hand, so let's talk about clothes. You know, in the winter often I see young people wearing shorts. And I say, hey, it must be awfully cold being hot. And in the summer, I see people dressed in black, and I say, man, it must be awfully hot being cool. But in over 100 hikes rim to rim or rim to river to rim at Grand Canyon, in the hot weather, I have never failed to see a hiker who was not facing a heat emergency. And only one time was it an older hiker. Usually the people are under 30 years old. Perhaps they think they can power through a hot hike, but they get into trouble. And in truth, you can die from heat exhaustion or heat stroke. So this is a matter of life and death. Black colors may be fashionable for those under 30. Often I'll see somebody out on the trail from a distance and I say, oops, under 30, and almost usually I'm right. But they are not the best choice for a hot weather hike unless you are dying to look good. My intended audience for this video is hikers of any age and any experience, but especially younger hikers. So what's wrong with this outfit? Well, if you're going to be planning on spending 10 to 12 hours in the hot sun, with temperatures of over 100 degrees, having your ears exposed, your nose exposed, your neck exposed, will expose you to a heck of a lot of sun. Black is fashionable, but is one of the hottest colors you can wear on the trail. Additionally, I'm wearing unsupportive shoes with a low-cut sock, or even worse, some people wear no sock, which will result in these getting full up with dirt and rocks. So let's move on to what I suggest that you do wear, and hopefully I'll get to a few suggestions that you, whether you're a new hiker or an experienced hiker, may never have thought of. Let's get started. I'm dressed now in what I would suggest is appropriate clothing for a hot weather hike at Grand Canyon or in a desert environment. Maybe the first thing you'll notice is the age of this hat. This hat is an old friend of mine. It's gone with me on every rim to rim to rim hike I've done. And let me say, when I say rim to rim to rim, for me, I do it senior style. That is, I hike from one rim to the other, get a hotel for the night, get a good night's sleep, and get up the next day and then return to the other rim. So for me, rim to rim to rim is one night in a hotel. But the old hat is one of my suggestions to you, is that you wear nothing new on your hot weather hike. I suggest you wear old clothes. They're well worn, they're familiar, they're loose, and you don't want chafing in the heat. Instead of a hat where your ears are hanging out, I like to wear a nice floppy hat that provides shade all around. Additionally, this is a simple cotton handkerchief, cost of about $1, 100% cotton, and it will keep the sun off your neck. And later we'll talk about how it works when it's wet. I suggest bright colors, whites, yellows, very pale colors that do not attract the sun, and loose clothing. Now you might say that I'm being a little inconsistent wearing these shorts, which are a darker color, but these have worked out so well for me. I picked these up for about $1 at a thrift store years ago. They're probably a size larger than what I need, but in the hot weather, all the air that flows through these is a very welcome thing. Next, I suggest a very supportive shoe. These are my favorite shoes for hiking at Grand Canyon, Salomon Ultra 3s. They no longer make them, and I'll have to be transitioning to a new shoe soon as everything wears out. Along with these are trail gaiters, and I've been wearing a combination of a silk sock liner and a wool sock liner for most of my hikes now. They give me a little bit of room to slide around. I am starting to experiment with a summer weight wool sock, just one single sock, like these Smart Wools. I have not yet made that transition or that decision, but it is in the experimental stage. Nonetheless, supportive shoes. These are Gore-Tex, as you will be doing some stream crossings as you go rim to rim at Grand Canyon. Gaiters and natural fabric socks. One of the things I suggest for your hot weather hike at Grand Canyon or a desert environment is that you underdress for the hike. Wear a little less than you would expect to. In the desert, it tends to be cool or even cold in the morning and can get burning hot in the afternoons. A little story on my second hike at Grand Canyon. I was taking the hiker's shuttle over to South Kaibab Trail. There was a kid who was wearing shorts. He was shivering like crazy. The hair on his legs was standing out. And I said, what a fool. But later in that day, when the temperatures went over 100 degrees, I realized I was the fool. I have a saying when I'm hiking, you want to be a fool in the morning and a genius in the afternoon. Underdress for what you're expecting. Next, I suggest that you know the actual temperature when you start hiking. I have bought and used this temperature sensor. I put it next to the bed. I hang the sending unit outside of the room when I stay at the Grand Canyon. And I find that what the cell phone reports the temperature as being at Grand Canyon is often the Grand Canyon airport temperature, which is in Tusayan. Often it's 10 degrees warmer on the rim because the canyon acts as a giant heat sink, and near the rim it tends to be a little bit warmer than you expect. Additionally, the temperature that you see in the morning isn't going to last long. First off, within the first 30 minutes your body warms up. Secondly, you'll probably have gone 3/4 of a mile or a mile in that time, and the temperature will go up 10 to 20 degrees. In the mornings when you start, you can expect it to be relatively cold, especially when you're going from North Rim to South Rim. I would say that 50% of the time it was below 32 degrees or 0 degrees Celsius in the morning when I left. For these purposes, it's great to have something like a neck gaiter, which you can use to cover your ears, which might be a little bit cold in the morning. And then you can just put your sun hat over that to keep you warm. Other than for cold weather in the morning, I do not find all that much use for the neck gaiters. I find them hot as heck as the day warms up, and I just stuff them into the backpack. On a particularly cold morning, I might find or purchase an additional t-shirt to wear so that I have two on. And I like this kind of formal looking shirt, which stands up well if I go out to the restaurant at North Rim. But a different alternative would be a wool thermal underwear shirt like this, which can also slip over your hands and kind of keep your hands warm instead of a glove. The wool thermal underwear shirt is lightweight and packable, has the advantage of a nice zip collar that you can bring up tight when it's cold, start to open as it warms up. And as I mentioned, it can serve also as a glove. Now we're about to get into some things, some strategies you may not have thought about. But before we get there, let's talk about thermometers one more time before we leave that topic. It's very light and very easy to get a zipper pull thermometer and hook it to your backpack. This way, you'll have a good sense of what the temperature is. I remember hiking one time when it was 117 in the shade, and I really didn't know it was that hot. Having that knowledge helped me to use strategies that kept me cool. Zipper pull thermometers for my aging eyes are kind of hard to see, and as a personal indulgence, I use one of these digital outdoor thermometers that I hook to the pack. It's easy to read and it's kind of fun to visit now and then during the hike. While still on the topic of backpacks, I highly recommend in the hot weather a suspended backpack, which has a mesh backing which allows some air to flow through. This is quite a bit older High Sierra, no longer available. The day pack I currently use and think all the world of is a Camelback Franconia, also no longer produced but still available on the internet. This is suspended as well, lets the air through, tends to keep your back drier as you're hiking. Now let's move into the things that you may not have thought of. On a rim-to-rim or rim-to-rim-to-rim hike, it is likely you can fit everything that you need for 2 people into a single pack. My recommendation is you just take 1 pack and you take turns wearing it. This will let one of the 2 hikers have their back dry off. It is also helpful in case somebody is having problems, knee problems, leg problems, fatigue problems. The person who's doing better can carry the pack. The person who is doing worse can go pack-free with the air circulating on their back. Next, I fill my water bladder with ice every morning before I hike. With these kind of low-rider water bladders that they use in these Camelbacks, I can have ice through 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is truly refreshing to have that. Additionally, the ice in the pack can keep things in your pack cool. One of the most refreshing things I eat on a hot hike is watermelon, and if it's been sitting against the ice, it is deliciously cold when you eat it. Finally, there is something that is well known to those of us who live in the Southwest, but folks from other parts of the country may not be familiar with, and that is the evaporative effect. In the Southwest, many of us use evaporative coolers to cool our homes. Water goes over a pad, air is pulled through that pad, and it lowers the temperature and keeps the home cool. Same thing applies to your clothing. Now, generally cotton is disfavored for backpacking because it absorbs water and does not evaporate quickly. But in the desert Southwest, that's exactly what you want. I wear a 100% cotton hat, 100% cotton handkerchief, 100% cotton shirt. I also keep with me in my backpack something I call hat water. Depending upon the length that I'm going to be going away from water, I carry either 1 or 2 liters. As it starts to get hot, the first thing I do is have hat water. I pull off my hat, throw the handkerchief in, water it down, put the handkerchief back on, and put the hat back on. That's the first stage of cooling. When I start approaching heat exhaustion, and it does happen, I take the water, pour it down the front of my shirt, down the back of my shirt, and it can go all the way down the body, and it has an incredibly effective cooling effect. You make your clothing into an evaporative cooler, and that evaporation can drop your body temperature by essential degrees when you're facing heat exhaustion. Finally, one bonus tip for hiking, and it's not quite clothing, but it does go on your body, is the use of bug spray. I found for some reason the most effective bug spray for me is this Repel 40% DEET. I've used other brands, I've used 100% DEET, but this works the best for me. They also make what I call a bug spray pencil that you can keep in your backpack and refill. Let me clarify, I receive nothing from anybody. I am not getting endorsements or any income for anything I talk about. It's just based upon my own experience. There are lots of reasons to use bug spray. I mean, there's Rocky Mountain spotted fever from ticks. There's tick-borne relapsing fever that you can even get in your cabin staying at Grand Canyon. There's Zika virus from mosquitoes and so forth. But the one that I see the most and that affects me personally is something I call Grand Canyon hiker's rash. It's a fairly serious looking red rash that appears on your legs after the hike, usually 2 to 4 hours after you're finished with your hike. That really has no negative effects, but sure looks awful. I have found that when I use a very good coat of this insect repellent, I get basically zero Grand Canyon hiker's rash. I have not had it in years since I've been using a very good level of spray of this bug repellent on my skin. It's a personal decision. Some people don't like it and find it unnatural. I find the trade-offs worth it, and that is my bonus tip for the hot weather hike at Grand Canyon or other desert environments. Happy hiking to you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you.